When you think about some of the things that are the most different between the early versions of S4 and what you're seeing now in S4 in the 2022, 2023 releases, what stands out to you as the biggest change through that transition, through that evolution?
So right now, the main transition is the integration of all the business technology platform services and how we need to keep our clean core. So right now, a lot of the clients are experiencing problems because they cannot upgrade their environments as much as they want. Right now, we are receiving so many new things, and clients need to get up to date very often, but the problem is because they don't have this clean core.
Thanks so much for joining another edition of the never-ending climb for a stronger supply chain and procurement for companies running SAP. Today, we've got Luis. Luis is, in my view, the most interesting man in the world. He goes on all kinds of adventures, and I love adventures, as you know, and he is an architect, an advisor, an experienced technical expert with SAP for decades. And Luis, I am so grateful for you joining today. Thank you very, very much for coming in.
Hi, Sean. Thank you very much for your introduction. So, I'm Luis here. I am from Spain, and I've been working with Sean. He's saying I'm the most interesting man of the world, but I have my thing to say that, Sean, you also are very close to that.
Thank you. We both love adventures. So, I keep getting these questions about, well, I don't know what version am I on. How do I tell what version am I on? What version of SAP am I? Why does the version matter? And I wanted to ask for your help, Luis, to just talk us through what are the different versions of SAP. And if we just start with kind of the ERP versions, and then we can get on to some of the other cloud versions and things like that. Can you talk us through that, Luis?
Yeah, sure. Definitely, Sean. So let's just back up a bit. That's definitely a very, very interesting topic, Sean. I always get a lot of questions, in terms of, hey, what are the version that I'm using? So just to give a very brief intro, so we have the first versions. I don't know if people know the word, the R1, 2, 3. Those were released in the early 70s, and they go back to up to 2004. Those were the original versions, and SAP has pretty much now done a very good job into upgrading that. Anyway, SAP pretty much released the R3 versions back in the 1972. And they comprise from R1, R2, R3. I don't think anyone is there, but if they are there, they should definitely be changing because that's definitely not supported. Back in the 2004, SAP finally released the ECC version. That's where, I imagine that most people are going to be most comfortable talking about. That version is called the Enterprise Central Component. And it goes from EHP 0 to EHP 8. EHP 8 pretty much is the latest version that it was released.
And that's enhancement pack, right?
Yeah, that is the EHP is enhancement pack, right? And they are all based on the NetWeaver technology that it was released back then.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Then after enhancement pack 8, SAP released this new thing called S4. When I first heard about it, I thought they were talking about an Audi, but they're actually talking about a new version of SAP. And then they started with this whole new version numbering system, didn't they?
Yeah. So SAP didn't want to continue with the old approach, maintaining the ECC, and they decided to redesign the whole thing. So they released the S4 HANA back in 2015, and pretty much it's just based on HANA database. It's a simplified data model. It comes with Fiori, advanced analytic integration. So and basically the versions are pretty much so. Originally, until 2020, SAP was putting the month and the year of the version when they released it. That's why it was 1511, 1610, 1709. so on, so on, until they decided that they didn't want to put the month anymore. So now they just want to release the year the version was released. And they release pretty much a version every year until today that finally they're going to be doing it every 2 years instead of 1 year.
So then for all the other cloud solutions that are, public cloud and they're on the quarterly release cycle or the regular release cycle, S4 is moving to the longer release cycle especially for Rise Private Cloud, and for on-premise, but the public cloud solutions, Ariba, Fieldglass, etc., those use the month date or year, month. So like May 2024 is, what is that again?
Yeah, it would be the 2024 May, on the month, right? That's how they release the versions.
2024-05 is like May of 2024. Okay, yes. Amazing. And that's for the core S4 HANA products, right? And then there's the private cloud side and the S4 product. And then there's the public cloud S4 product, which is technically similar, but still a different product, isn't it?
Yeah. So the S4 cloud, what today is now a lot of people are hearing is like going Rise with SAP, right? So pretty much the S4 cloud is pretty much SAP is handling all your infrastructure and make sure you follow all the principles and processes to keep your core clean, right? So the main difference between pretty much S4 cloud and private is that SAP is taking care of much of the infrastructure processes, upgrades, backups. So you don't have to worry about those things, although you have to worry about the business because that's your business and you have to make sure that you take that. But that's one of the key differences, right?
Yeah, right on. So when I think about the S4 public cloud, I know it started in 2015, 16 as the same code line, but it's branched off and it's simplified because it's a pure public cloud solution. And there's extensibility, but you literally cannot have anything other than a clean core on the public cloud product. And then on the S4 on-premise or Rise Private Cloud, that's a code line that went this way. And that's the S4 version. We run the on-premise version, and a lot of customers are moving either to S4, either on-premise or with Rise in that private cloud edition where you've got more flexibility and you've got more influence over your own upgrade cycles and things like that. And when I think about when we went live with your help on S4 way back in 2015, I know we were among the first, and we've seen this journey evolve so much. And when you think about some of the things that are the most different between the early versions of S4 and what you're seeing now in S4 in the 2022, 2023 releases, what stands out to you as the biggest change through that transition, through that evolution?
So right now, the main transition is the integration of all the business technology platform services and how we need to keep our clean core. So right now, a lot of the clients are experiencing problems because they cannot upgrade their environments as much as they want. Right now, we are receiving many new things, and clients need to get up to date very often. But the problem is because they don't have this clean core, and the upgrade processes takes so many resources. They need to do it every number of years, right? But if you follow the clean core principles, then you can be pretty much up to date and use BTP as your integration landscape, and you can extend all the capabilities and as well following these principles.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the big shifts is in the 2000s and even the early 2010s. I know we saw a lot of the big implementations that started with let's keep it vanilla, and then there was some governance around any and all extensions, except over time those extensions pile up. To be fair, some of those extensions are done following the clean core requirements. It's just because you have a customization doesn't mean you have a dirty core, but then there are others that are. This is a rant moment. Oh my God, just because you have 2,000 customizations in your S4 system doesn't mean you have a dirty core. They might have been done right. Don't let somebody tell you it's dirty just because you have 2,000 of them, because they're PDF customizations where you're adding your logo and they're your workflows and things like that. Some of those are fair game and may have been done right. But there are also extensions that were done in a way where they really need to be tested carefully every time you upgrade. And that could have been for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's just because that particular project ran out of time and money and they needed to finish and deliver something. And then they left some technical debt for later. So those are the ones that you really have to watch out for and make sure that you know the difference between the ones that are still clean core and the ones that are not. So when I think about one of those other key differences, it's today, those extensions that might have been done in a way that are not clean are now being pushed over to BTP because those services, like you said, are so much more mature. So I love that. And the other thing that's really come a long way, and I know this is near and dear to my heart, is these add-ons, right? Add-ons that are available through the SAP store that are built on BTP already that keep the core clean and add that extra capability. I know our add-on for the procurement gateway that handles intake to pay as the number one add-on, that's totally backwards compatible, right? That, like, how far back does that go?
Yeah, so exactly. So we build those add-ons. And it's important to say that we always follow our the AAK process. It's the process of building those applications in the way it should be done, the way SAP does, and this is backwards compatible until the EHP 7.
Right.
So yeah,
And
we're back
EHP
again to
7
this.
was released, more than a decade ago. So there's this wide range of organizations that can take advantage of our solution. So when we're talking to somebody about what version and does this work for me, there's a really good chance yes, because the last supported version of Enhancement Pack 7 and 8 goes out of support at the end of 2027, right?
Yeah, that is correct. At the end of 2027, customers should be moving to S4 HANA if they want to
Yeah,
be in
and
support.
you probably don't want to be the last customer to move,
No.
because most of the good teams will have already been spoken for. So don't wait till the last minute, ladies and gentlemen. I
Exactly.
I really appreciate Luis, and I know that there's a whole blog that explains this in even more details, and I know we're going to link that up below. But I am so grateful for your time to go and explain this. I've got one last question. Sometimes people say, Sean, we're running SAP HANA. And I say, great, you're running a database or you're running the ERP product. Can you explain just real quick the difference between HANA and S4 HANA for people in a nutshell?
Yeah, so HANA, it is a database actually, right? It is actually, it stands for High Performance Analytic Appliance, right? It is in memory database. Main difference was it is column storage, for query performance, parallel processing, analytics, data compression, scalability, right? But it's at the end, it's just a database, and it's the one that we use for the S4. So S4 is the complete package, is the release of all the applications and suite that uses just the HANA, that is just the database. So
That's amazing. Well, if anybody has any questions about SAP versions and what's compatible with what, Luis, I know you're the person I call. So I am so grateful for you joining us today and helping share your knowledge and experience with everybody else. Thanks, everybody, for watching another edition of The Never Ending Climb for a Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement for companies running SAP. And if you want to level up your intake to pay processes, then you know who to call. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
thank you.